Welcome back to HM and Big E Review Things. I'm Elvin. This is Homing. And today we are reviewing Picard Season 1, Episode 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that is not a good sign.
What did you think about Episodes 4 and 5?
I think Episodes 4 and 5 move the plot along, add a lot of stuff that, probably is not that necessary. It's ending up to be a gigantic, convoluted mystery mess, where things are happening. You have no idea why they're happening. A lot of storylines. I think 4 was pretty, it wasn't doing too much. I think I'm trying to remember what happened.
Yeah, I'm trying to what happened. Okay, let's dive into the plot. What happened in 4? Do you remember?
Well, just remember the different characters, right?
Yes, Rios was
in jail.
Was in jail with the doctor.
The two ladies are trying to free him from jail. They break into police. They go.
Oh my goodness! That sequence was so frustrating.
Yes. A car chase scene. Girardi is.
Which I think if you stole a police car, I think there would be a bit more of an immediate reaction. Like they were just driving around leisurely for a while before the chase actually began.
Yes. So those three are sort of. In one scene.
Yeah.
Picard and Girardi, they go to the mansion. They start finding certain things out, right? They find out the 15th is a special date.
Yes.
That type of thing.
And then he goes and he finds Guinan.
He's trying to find the Watcher. So
yes,
somehow,
and he believes it's Guinan.
But I don't know. Did they explain why she's at the bar?
I don't know. Yeah, why she is at...
Well, I think they get the coordinates from somewhere, right? To beam him there.
It's so frustrating because it's stuff like this that clearly Alex Kurtzman and the other producers just thought this is kind of cool, but it makes no sense. Why is Guinan 300 years before 400 years before she serves in a bar called 10 Forward, which isn't just a name.
Yeah.
It's the location on the 10th deck forward of the ship. That's why it's called 10 Forward. But she's working in a bar 400 years before at 10 Forward. I get that, in episode 1 or 2 when he visits her, when she has a bar named 10 Forward.
Right.
At least that afterwards, it could make sense and it's emotional. It meant a lot to her, so she decided to find number 10 at Forward Avenue, as contrived as that is. But why is it beforehand? Anyway, so he finds Guinan to look for the Watcher.
Somehow the sequence happens.
And he chooses not to tell her who he is for some reason.
Yes, and Guinan is a different lady.
Yes, I'm okay with that. I have no problem with that. But you have a problem with that?
I think I'm trying to remember the history of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Like when they go back in time.
Well, yeah, in the 18th century when she meets Mark Twain,
she was Whoopi Goldberg.
I'm okay with that. Again, there's realities of television making that
contracts and things like that. Right?
Well, I think just maybe they probably correctly believe that
I just didn't feel like she was Guinan. Why? Because Guinan is a much more. I think generally a little bit more optimistic kind of person. She is poignant. She's very.
This is a big shift in the character.
Yeah, she's kind of a grumpy, negative person.
But see, I think they're trying two things at once, which is the problem. They switched the actress, which is fine, and they also tried to make her grumpy. But I think there's they explain in universe why she's grumpy because she's seeing it all fall
poverty
apart.
And stuff.
Right. So, but I think they need to establish this is the same Guinan before it turns to that grumpy. If there was an episode where they first meet and she's kind of nice and kind and gentle, the Guinan that we know to establish, yes, this is a different actress, but it's the same Guinan.
In the 18th century, she, where there was slavery and all these kind of things, she was a happier Guinan. So fine, okay, let's take that aside. Picard's meeting with Guinan. Yeah. They start figuring out who the Watcher is. Yeah. The whole sequence is a little bit weird.
The dog likes Picard?
The dog likes Picard.
Is that the same dog or?
No, but that's Patrick Stewart saying, I want more dogs in these scenes.
More dogs.
He loves dogs.
Yes.
You can see it in his
and it's another pit bull, right?
It's somewhat of a pit bull. He loves pit bulls because they're kind of misunderstood.
Yes.
Then what happens? I'm trying to remember all the characters. Girardi is left behind on the ship or something. Oh, in the mansion. She's in the mansion. Sleeping or something.
No, she's sleeping in 5. What is she doing in 4?
She's doing something.
I don't know. She's
on the ship or in the mansion, something like that.
Yeah.
And
what else happens?
That's really what happens.
Because she has to fix the transporter.
She has to fix the transporter.
Yes. She has to work with the Queen to fix the transporter. And then the Queen does fix it at some point. But
they fix it.
But how? Like, she gives him something? She gives her something? Like Girardi?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
They just it's set up so that they could talk to each other a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they and they're able to beam Raffi and Seven away.
That's right. When they get into the car.
Yes.
When they get stopped.
When they get stopped, so all those people just watched two people disappear and teleported away.
That's right.
Which right in the next episode,
they talk not to.
They talk about you can't do that because then it'll affect the.
No.
So again, even within the next episode, they contradict themselves.
Yeah. So, anyways, that happens, and then that's really the end of that episode. Well, there's a very end where they hint that Q something's not working with his powers.
Oh yes, and then we're introduced to. At that point, we don't know who it is. You're introduced to the young lady who turns out to be a great aunt or something of Jean-Luc, and it's Renee Picard.
Well, it's an ancestor.
It's an ancestor. Yeah. Okay.
And then episode 5 takes a big shift because then they start adding so many things in this episode.
Yeah.
So if you want to unpack it, there's a bunch of stuff happening that we're all confused about. You know, Picard meets Laris, who's not Laris. She is a human.
Yes. No, I don't think she's human.
She's a watcher.
I don't think she's human.
a watcher.
She's a supervisor.
Okay.
Again, even on the forums last week, or what they were talking about, like the word supervisor is directly chosen because in the TOS episode, which I vaguely remember, they meet Gary Seven, and
they mention him.
Yes, they do mention him, and there's something about a rocket launch he either has to prevent or make sure goes okay, and then I think he dies. I don't know. But supervisor, I don't think he's human. I don't think she's human. I don't think Talon.
But she's
is her name.
Tasked to watch over one
person in this case.
Years. Okay.
Why? What do you think is the story implication of her looking like Laris?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I'm guessing.
Yes.
Is that Laris in the future is also a supervisor. And she's there to watch over Picard. And she's watched over him his entire life.
Not just his life. Generations upon generations.
Of Picard's?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I think... But then that begs the question of like, is she like a clone? Is she a robot?
I think it's not going to be explained.
I think they definitely will explain.
They're not going to explain it. I think they're going into the Star Wars territory of the Skywalker saga.
Right.
Where it's about one family which has never been Star Trek.
No.
Right? No. So now it's like Picard's line is super
important to the entire history of humanity.
It's becoming the Terminator thing.
Yeah.
Right? John Connor must be saved.
Right.
No matter what the cost, right?
Yeah,
and I think that is not... I understand the series is called Picard, but that's not really what Star Trek's about. And Jean-Luc Picard was never that, important in the overall scheme of things.
So, they're making it, his family line, super, super important. And I think... when we talked about in our last Picard review, I mentioned tapestry.
Yes, they mentioned that word a lot of times.
They did. And how I really like that because by taking away a decision that he chose, it reveals something about his character, right? It reveals something about who he is and how he became to be this way. Now you're going 400 years in the past and it's about an ancestor. It's not about him anymore. There's nothing. What is this going to tell us about Picard, the character?
Well,
that his ancestor did something important.
The problem with this series is Picard is just one of the many characters and plot lines.
Yeah.
Yes, it's about him, but if you actually look at his screen time compared to everybody else, it's pretty much the same.
Yes.
And most of his scenes are him walking to another building and talking to someone because he's probably too old to be doing any action, anything substantial, right? So he's just going around talking to different people, if you think about it. And every other person is doing all the action stuff.
Yes.
All the 3-4 main other characters are doing all the fun action sequences.
Right.
So you end up having this... The mystery, basically, from what I can tell from this episode, is they don't want her to get on the rocket to launch.
Right. Because there's a quick one line about her discovering something. Alien life and then convincing them to bring it back to Earth.
That's right. So that obviously has implications for the future, I guess. And the way they're convincing her not to fly is not to kill her
the alien life she's going to discover is a space whale.
Yeah.
And then it'll be Voyager. It's the two whales.
It's the two whales. No, you know what it is? It's weird because they don't want her to launch, but the way they do it is not to kill her, not to injure her, but to talk her out of it.
Yeah. To lean into her anxiety and depression.
That's right. And Q is doing that because he can't snap his fingers, right? They show that. Right. The other problem I had with this whole thing was the science is just gone into magic territory where you can watch someone's counseling session. I don't care how good the technology is, right? You can watch it from two angles.
Cameras.
You can zoom in too, right? That stuff's just lazy. That is lazy kind of writing, especially in a show that requires you to talk about how technology works. Right. This is not Lord of the Rings where you can summon something or Harry Potter, you can look through a mirror.
Yes.
That's not the world. So that was that's a nitpick of the week, but still it's a pretty big moment for me.
Right.
So that's what's happened. Then there's a side story of Q again trying to mess with Noonien Sung's ancestor. How many times has Brent Spiner played these roles? Like, he must be calling Patrick Stewart up every week, begging for these roles.
He's some master geneticist, which
everybody in that story is a genius.
Is a geneticist, or I guess later a robot. Yeah, some advanced robotics, that kind of stuff. But Brent Spiner's character on Enterprise, during that season 3 or season 4 run on the Augments, he was a geneticist also.
Yes.
I believe Eric Soong. Again, we don't even know this guy's name.
Adam Soong.
Adam Soong. Because he's the first? I don't know.
It could be. They're hinting that, Why Daj is the daughter?
Yeah, Soji. Well, they're the twins.
The twins, yeah.
Yeah, why? That makes no sense.
This feels like an episode of SNL where they all play the different characters, but it's the same actor. So she's in it now as the daughter who has a
genetic disorder
that does not let her see sunlight or breathe air or something.
But apparently she can, as long as they have the robot shield out. But apparently she's still confined to a room, even though he has the technology to let her out. They don't. And this, like, there's so many problems with it. This genius scientist gets this mystery cure that he's proven works.
Yes, but temporarily.
Yeah, but that's fine. He doesn't know it temporarily, which, fine, whatever. But the place he decides to, you know what, like, we're going to try this. Let's just try it outside. We're going to try it outside, not in a controlled environment.
Not just your arm.
Yeah. Just, exactly. Yeah. Fully outside, and then we'll take the shield off. Yes, it works. That's not how science works.
But it's a lot of weird stuff in here. Like, if you're going to throw in Q, then why take away his powers? He's got to work with people. If you're going to throw in...
I think that is a plot line that they're trying to explore. Because there's something about it. He's going crazy.
They're throwing a lot in. Yes. Borg Queen has her own agenda.
Right. Who's dead now. Or not dead.
Not really.
Dead, but not dead.
Yes, of course she's...
Which then supports the theory that the Borg Queen in episode 1 is Agnes Girardi.
Ooh, that... Okay.
Because she's calling for Picard.
I thought of that too.
That's why it's masked, yeah.
And she actually says, that's new, right?
Yes.
Fine. If that is... I just don't know. Okay, there's the Borg Queen.
Yep.
There's Noonien Sung storyline. There's a Q storyline. There is the Raffi... There's like about 8
There's the Doctor storyline, Dr. Teresa.
Teresa.
The one that Rios met. I don't think they're dropping that. She doesn't come back this episode. In 5.
There's about 8 storylines going on.
It's a lot.
They're trying to somehow at the end of this, all of them come together, right?
Right. And really good writing can do that.
Yes.
And we've seen even within Star Trek and TNG where the A plot and the B plot and sometimes even the C plot seem unrelated then they actually all come back.
But there's never an H plot. Okay? Yeah. Like, look at the best stuff like Toy Story. Or there's maybe A story, B story, and maybe a C story. There is not... O story.
Right.
Okay, this is the problem with this series.
Yeah, Potato Head isn't going around looking for lost accessories.
That's right, exactly. That's a good point. So I think we're going to the territory of it's getting quite confusing.
Yeah.
And then
this was such a tonal shift. I know where you're going. We haven't talked about this, but I know where you're going.
It becomes a heist TV series. And what I have the problem with is they start explaining all the reasons why they can't use technology to solve the problem.
Yes.
Right? They're like, well, there's facial scanners.
Yeah.
there are these you can't hack the system because it's local.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Okay.
And so they keep explaining all this stuff away so they could have a heist story.
Yes.
So and they even play kind of cutesy music so it's more fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And a chance for the characters to dress up.
Yes.
Like that in season 1 they had a little bit
that
of
was
that
yeah.
And so they say, okay, you know what? We're going to send in Girardi somehow. So I don't understand if they could, fake all her.
Right.
Why don't you just fake all 6 of them?
Yeah. I wrote that down too in my notes that I was taking. Oh, it's unhackable. We can't change it, but we can hack for one person only.
Right.
What?
So she goes in, but then if you
because it's Tannen, the lady that looks like Laris, Talon.
Yeah.
Her magical powers can hack one person in. Continue.
She hacks one person in, but then in the next scene, Picard is in a tuxedo. He's inside too, or he's outside. I don't know what he's doing.
I don't.
There is a scene where they're
getting ready to yeah.
Or they're inside or
no, I think they're outside.
Okay, they're outside. Okay.
Because I think the plan was for her to get captured, which Talon's powers are able to hack the database and the ID so that Girardi can get in, but can't fix the facial recognition system. So.
Right.
What kind of NASA party has this level of security either?
Exactly.
It was such out of left field tonal change. This heist segment.
It's almost like the writers were saying, you gotta have something kind of fun in it.
Yeah.
And then Patrick Stewart's like, let's do this. And they're like, yes, this is gonna be fun. Let's throw in this side plot where they gotta get into this NASA part. Why? Not for something besides talking to her, right? So they're just trying to talk to the Rene Picard, right?
Yes.
And then
no, they don't want to talk to her. Again, it's all protecting her.
How protecting her though?
I don't know.
How is an 85-year-old man protecting some? Anyways, so then the last kind of cliffhanger is that it shows that Girardi's influenced by the Borg Queen.
Influenced, or she contains? I saw it as she. I guess part of her connection, she is partly assimilated, and she has
that's the whole thing.
Code of the Borg Queen.
Okay,
and so that's why I think it'll go back, and she is the Borg Queen.
A lot of weird.
But again, I think that's another one. We talked about last time how the Raffi Elnor relationship came out of nowhere. I think this Girardi being kind of so desperately alone is also kind of brand new. Didn't she have a relationship with Rios in the first one?
Yes.
And I definitely didn't get the impression that she was kind of playing the awkward character and kind of the bumbling kind of professor kind of role a little bit. But she was very competent. She seemed to get on well with her colleagues. She seemed excited about her work. But this season, they're really trying to, but she's actually desperately alone and really craves that connection.
I'm not sure what they're going for.
It's just out of nowhere. Again, it's so contrived, this kind of stuff that's inconsistent with the characters that they've already established.
And the world. Like that scene where they're like, we can't transport Rios out because, it'll affect the timeline, but we can bust all these prisoners out. They actually cut their chains and they all go.
Yes.
And that doesn't have an effect on the timeline for some reason.
Right. I'm not sure they're saying that teleporting will affect the timeline because of what happens. I think it's because they're saying their argument is that people will see a person being teleported away, which again, those cops with body cameras definitely did already see in the previous episode.
It was lazy.
And then there's a magic. The tricorder now can emit a random EMP to stop the bus.
That's right. I don't know, but anyways, there was just the only reason is to add false tension to get Rios out so that they could beam him back on the ship.
Yes.
Right. And there's the other line that I didn't like, which is another nitpick of the week, which is Picard's explaining to Talon how great his crew is. We've been through thick and thin together. And I felt that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You have not gone through thick and thin. I would believe that of the TNG crew.
Yes.
But then they make the joke of how this ragtag group of people is carrying away a dead body or something. Just really weird tonal stuff. You could tell Patrick Stewart's probably... struggling to probably get through some of these lines, but he's kind of sappy now. So
even that whole cop thing, was unnecessary. Like that whole thing that she calls the cops and they send one cop and then she lures the cop in so she can hold him hostage so that Girardi can kill her.
It did not need.
That did not need to happen at all.
Yeah.
Like they could have had some other way for the Queen to kind of infest Girardi. But I think they did it so that, it'd be nice to kind of have that kind of creepy kind of, the cop is wandering through the house and there's that mystery kind of thriller.
That whole sequence from her calling the cops, where she had to imitate 4 voices to get to the real voice, that's just waste of everybody's time, right? Because you could just you're connected to the ship. You could just dial it.
Yes. Again,
You don't need a voice command.
another example of not trusting the audience to be smart enough, right? Because you could show her closing her eyes and same thing happens, and then the computer reads out something or whatever, and they've done that before in Trek. And then another example of that is all the exterior shots of Chateau Picard, the cloaked ship. Every time the camera's on, the cloaked ship has to shimmer a bit to make sure it's there, because you're not smart enough to realize it's there if the cloaked ship doesn't stay cloaked.
They make a lot of things way too obvious.
Yes.
And that's the problem. Star Trek is not really that type of show. You know, a lot of stuff is, especially like the good old 90s Star Trek. A lot of stuff you have to think about a little bit, and that's fine. But these new show writers just. They got to make it super obvious.
Well, one of the reviews that I watched was talking about how, modern Trek now tells you this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong about our current world.
That's right.
This is wrong. And this kind of delves into a lot of that, right? And in the past couple episodes, we talked about climate change, depression, homelessness, the mental health part, just the corporate greed and all this kind of stuff, which is direct and very obvious commentary about what is wrong with our world now. But good Trek, historical Trek, has never been about pointing out what's bad now. It's telling you this is why something is good. That we should be aiming for this because it is the right thing to do. This is the good thing. We should be aiming for this.
That's right.
Not just this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad.
Yeah, and that's the Picard we all miss. Someone who was able to fairly and justly point to a correct course of action, or at least, and sometimes Picard would admit that he doesn't have all the answers, but the episode would end where he's staring into space, wondering if he did the right thing.
Yes. Very point. Those are good moments, and you
right. You remember those moments. You're like, you don't have identify. No, these are
you
just
don't have those. You have ICE is bad. Immigration. ICE is bad, and maybe there's some truth to that. Again, we don't live in America, and there's probably some truth to that. But it's so just direct, and it's too. Again, it doesn't trust the audience to be smart enough. Okay, I don't know. Do you have anything else to talk about Picard?
I think people hopefully will agree with some of these points. So let us know what you think.
Yes. Until next. Do you want to give an overall grade? It's going very severely downhill for me.
Well, what's your grade?
What did we give it last time? I think it went down to
a B.
No, it's definitely into a C category now, if not lower. I'm really, really not interested in the show anymore. I'll keep watching. Not just for the many views we get on our channel, but I do like Star Trek, and I'll push through to see if hopefully it gets better.
Yeah, it's sitting. I'll be a little more positive this review, but it's leaning towards like a B minus C plus. So I'll just give it a B minus for now. Right. But we have 5 more episodes. We may not review all 5, but we'll do one at the finale. Maybe invite a few guests in, but. It's going to be a lot to unpack in that finale. 5 episodes of these 8 stories colliding together. You're going to need a chart for all that to explain.
Yes.
What's going on.
If it's interesting to talk about.
Sure.
But we'll have we'll follow up then. But until next episode, keep watching things.